Good evening and welcome to After Hours. I'm kind of nervous and excited about my next guest. We're both Maine Islanders and we live in Paradise, and that's how we met. And I was going to say you were a musician, Nan Johnston, and I say musician because, I don't know, most people associate singing with bands, with music, but your voice is the music. I want you to just talk a bit about that. Do you feel naked when you're just using your voice?
No, it's sort of the opposite. I learned to sing that way just naturally, just because I like to hear stuff and then re-sing it. So I mimic Anne Murray or Ella Fitzgerald, whoever it was. And my parents used to ask me to sing at parties, and nobody ever mentioned to me that it was odd to sing without any music. So I don't think I remember when I found it. Yeah, it was just really about 5-6 years ago I realized people don't do that very often. Mm-hmm. They don't just start singing without any music. So it's harder for me to get used to singing with a musician. It's sort of sometimes it's like too tight a glove, or it takes a bit of effort.
So you mentioned your childhood, and so your parents encouraged you to sing. How did that start? Did you used to sing as a child?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, Doris Day, anything that was playing on the radio, I would, and when the movies came out, like Mary Poppins, My Fair Lady, I just go around the house singing whatever I heard, or I'd be singing outside to myself or my parents, and then so they started getting me to sing at parties, which was sort of not as fun, because I felt a little like a trained seal, but so yeah, it just started just hearing stuff, and I wanted to feel it in my throat, kind of, and experience it for myself.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I played piano growing up, and there were many times where it's like, could you play the piano for your relatives or whatever? And there were times that I really didn't. I was very shy. I'm very shy anyways, and I didn't want to play the piano. So talk a little bit more about that. Did that discourage you, or did it make you feel better because you had positive feedback from people?
No, it kind of slipped off. It would just be, okay, get it done, get it over with, go away, make a getaway. Because I was shy too. And when I think about it now, I could have been more engaging, but I was just so frightened that I'd screw up or let my parents down somehow, because my mom was pretty exacting. And it was more for her benefit, I think. And I think I knew that as a child. It wasn't really about me. It was about how she would show off. So it was just sing the song, get through it, don't make any mistakes, and get out of there. So, no.
So how did the singing progress? Like, you get to high school, you're interested in boys. How did the singing progress from your childhood?
It stopped. I was really, from grade school, when teachers would encourage me to sing, from there through past university to Maine Island, there was nothing. That's a lie. There was one competition, and this is really funny. Alanis Morissette was in this competition, and I beat her. Yeah, I remember she came out on stage, and she had the manager, and she was doing the moves, and I thought, oh my God.
What competition was this?
This was in Ottawa. This was in Ottawa, and it was called the War of the Bands, and it was sponsored by a radio station. And there were about, 10 different acts, mostly just individuals. There were no bands or anything, just got on stage, and it was karaoke.
Okay.
And so we got down to there was semifinals and then finals, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals. And we got to the finals, and I thought for sure she'd get it because she was so dynamic. And I got out on stage and I sang "Someone to Watch Over Me," and the audience didn't say there was nothing, and then clapping. But there was a scary moment of silence, and I thought, oh, there's no way they don't like me. I'm not like anybody else here anyway. I'm really uncool. And I won the competition. And it was a weekend in New York. Take your friend and go to New York.
And then you didn't pursue that even after
No. I just thought, well, that was cool. And until I came to Maine Island, I didn't do any singing in public. And it was just by accident.
What kind of music have you been attracted to? You've mentioned Doris Day when you're a kid, you're singing along to whatever things, but was there any particular music along the way, or singing, or voices that
My
attracted
favorite stuff, I like all sorts of stuff. I think my favorite stuff that I do best, and I'm not sure why, is the old stuff, the old Cole Porter, way back 40s, 50s, 30s, old war song, pre-war, post-war songs. I just like that. The melodies are pure to me. The words are clear. You just stand there and sing. You don't have to be anything other than you are. I think Ella Fitzgerald used one hand to do stuff, and I think that's all she did. So it's not so much being a package as just singing the song and meaning the words. So I would say, but I like Stevie Nicks stuff. But whenever I sing it, it's, ooh, don't sing that. Not a good
Doesn't
idea.
work.
No, it totally. Singing Rhiannon, love the song. When I sing it, it just sounds sad. Big mistake. So, yeah, I can't sing just anything.
So is singing for you emotional, and what does it touch in you?
It can be. If I want to feel better, sometimes I'll cheer myself up. Or if I want to cry, I can actually sing and cry, which is I always found so melodramatic and amazing. To be able to do that, because then I think there's a camera on me and I'm singing, I'm crying, and I'm in some movie. And so yeah, it is.
There's a whole story there.
It's a huge emotional, yeah. And sometimes when I know unfortunately on Main Island we're losing a lot of seniors, so I've ended up having to sing at funerals, and that's tough to actually sing and not let your voice go. And you're feeling
crying.
it and start crying.
But the voice must bring it out too.
Yeah.
Or it must be there.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes I have to stop if I'm feeling too emotional. Sometimes I get through that wall, so to speak, and keep singing, and then tears roll down my face. It's cool.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What about uplifting you? Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I sing to cheer myself up. Yeah, like just to feel the notes in my throat. Like a lot of what Whitney Houston's saying, you have to really raise your voice and push it out, and it feels good to sing it. Almost like a runner saying, God, that was a good run. Mm-hmm. You know, your muscles feel it, and you just go, oh yeah, that was great.
What about a high? Like runners have a high from running.
It is, I don't think, well, when you're on stage and you come off stage, that's a high. And for me, it takes about 48 hours to come down from that, and then you just go back to being your normal self, which is... but yeah, being on stage gives you an incredible high. It's got to be the adrenaline that goes with it. It dries your mouth out, but it also gives you real energy. And the feedback from the audience gives you, it just magnifies it. So that's definitely a high. Singing by myself, sometimes I sort of sing and I think, whoa, that was really good. Impress the hell out of myself, and that's a little bit of a high.
So for a very long period, you didn't do any singing. What inspired you to start singing? Well, you might have sang in private, but what inspired you to sing
on stage
out there?
That's like the huge leap. It was a girlfriend on Main Island that had a regular music night at the local pub, and she knew I could sing, and she knew I was sort of desperately wanting to, but too frightened to. And one evening she said, "Come on, Nan, come and sing. I'm going to do a Neil Young song. You can do the harmony." So I said, "All right. Sure." And got up on stage, and we were sitting on stools just like this. And there's a picture someone took of me, and I'm looking at her, and my hands are in between my knees, and I'm looking, she's there, and I'm sort of looking at her singing. Not one word is going into the microphone. You can't hear me at all. And I'm just terrified, but I'm singing the song properly. And that was the moment where you never have to go back there. Once you start singing, once you push into that room, you never have to go back to that room again. You go on to the next. So the stage fright eventually gets to a point where it's manageable, and you know, okay, that's how it's going to feel. That's cool. I can handle that. But the stage fright took about 4 or 5 performances before I could sing without desperate fear and clammy hands. And
do you get a bit of nervousness?
Yeah,
each time.
I think everybody does. When I saw Sarah McLachlan at the CBC studios weeks ago, she made a mistake. As soon as she started in on her guitar, she was leading into Building a Mystery, she made a mistake. And before she drew breath, I screwed up. It's okay. That sucked. It's radio. I'll do it again. And I thought, right on. She screws up. And she was obviously.
And of course people do.
Yes. But you always think when you see the magazine or you see the CD or whatever, you think, oh, God, she's perfect. That's why she's there.
That's performance, like, and video and television. But go ahead, yes.
Yeah. So you think, oh, I can't make a mistake. I can't make a mistake. But it's part of the charm of it. And I think what I learned from that, seeing her, not just to get to see her, but seeing her on stage, was that she was slightly nervous. She guzzled water, like I'm doing, because adrenaline dehydrates you. And there's a certain amount of nerves that go along with performing that everybody has to a certain degree. I mean, doesn't Barbara Streisand throw up before she goes out? She goes up live.
So the woman who asked you to do harmonies, a lot of times artists on all levels, painters, but I would think particularly performers in the public sort of arena are very selfish because they want the attention. So talk a bit about that.
Yeah,
with
you're
artists.
right. She's a very generous musician, because I've learned since then, and I've seen it before, where you know the person who's performing, but they're not letting you in that door. They're just not. And for whatever reason, it's my room, you can't come here. I've had to go through this, and I'm not going to help you. You're going to have to find another way. I don't know if it's fear of you being better than they are, but it's a definite glass ceiling. And she was one of the few people that encouraged everybody that she knew, even people that shouldn't be singing, to come up and get the feeling of it. And I've had the opportunity to do that too. Meet actually a retired engineer on Main Island who's a struggling guitar player. And I said, you've got to come to this or that. And it took me 3 years to convince him to finally come and play. And it was the church fair. And he was absolutely white-faced with terror, but he did it anyway. And so he'll be able to say to himself, I did that, like skydiving or something that scares you, that you know you can do, but no one gives you the opportunity. And I think, Sarah McLachlan's doing that with her school, actually. Kids getting to, I think, as far as I know, the tuition's free. You just have to have a certain talent. But that's important, especially now when schools are shutting down the music programs. So I think it's really important, and it's a gift to be able to meet someone and they say, oh, if only I could do that. Well, you probably could. You just have to do it. Someone has to say, come on up with me and do it with me.
Give the opportunity.
Yeah, and make it easy for them.
What about that, never mind the fear of being on, I did a Kiwanis Festival singing once. I don't know how that teacher got me up there. I honestly don't. But I remember, there's this whole audience there, and I'm just like, focus on the judge. Don't think about the rest of it. Just do it. Anyways, what's it like to be facing an audience, and is there that fear of criticism?
No. Actually, I'm my worst critic. I think I have this sense, and I didn't always have it, but now I have it because now I've done it, performed, and I can feel when they first hear the first notes, when they just go, oh, and nobody breathes. So that second, even though I don't know if they're breathing or not, but no, I know without a doubt that my voice is pretty, and it catches people off guard. Whether I could do a whole night of singing a cappella, I doubt it, but I don't look like my voice. So there's that certainty when I first start to sing that people are, like, it does something to them. I can feel it